Have you ever found yourself wincing a bit when you get up from your favorite armchair? Or feeling a twinge in your knees when you climb just a few steps? Many of us, once we reach our 70s, assume that those stiff joints or lingering aches are simply part of life, like a quiet companion that stays whether we like it or not. But here's a thought that might surprise you. Traditional spice remedies, many of which have been used for centuries, could hold the key to naturally soothing some of that discomfort. And no, this isn't about some secret formula hidden away in a remote village. It's about four simple spices that might already be sitting in your kitchen cupboard right now. A lot of folks in their later years shy away from trying anything new in their diet because they've grown up with a certain set of beliefs. Strong, intense flavors might upset the stomach, or exotic spices don't belong in an everyday meal. But think about it this way. If you knew that a modest sprinkle of something at dinner time, or even just a pinch of it in your morning oatmeal, could gently support your joints and help you stay active, wouldn't you be curious to give it a try? In fact, many of these spices have been quietly championed by herbalists and grandmothers across the world for generations. The key is learning how to use them in a way that feels right for you. As we talk about these four spices, my promise is that you'll gain not only a few delicious ideas to spice up your meals, but also a realistic sense of how these ingredients can support aging joints. There's nothing magical or instantaneous here. This isn't a miracle cure. Rather, it's about using gentle, natural tools that could gradually make a notable difference in how you move, how you feel, and how you engage with the activities you love. Whether that's gardening, walking the dog, or dancing at your grandchild's wedding. If you've been finding it harder to do those everyday things that once brought you joy, stay tuned. There's a simple path forward. Over the years, I've spent time talking with active seniors, reading up on traditional remedies, and exploring the ways culture after culture has approached joint discomfort. While none of us should ever abandon sound medical advice, I've seen firsthand how small changes, like adding certain foods or spices, can complement what our healthcare providers recommend. When I suggest a new approach, people often say, "I wish I'd known this sooner." My hope is that by the time we're finished here, you'll feel confident enough to experiment with some of these flavors in your own kitchen and discover which ones work best for you. Now, before we take a closer look at these four surprising spices, I want you to reflect on your own routine. Do you have a favorite dish that could use a little more flavor? Or maybe you're feeling stuck with bland foods that you've been told are your only healthy options. Let's keep that in mind as we dive in. You might be surprised at how easy it is to adapt your everyday meals to include these tried and true joint-friendly seasonings. Let's start by turning a common assumption on its head. The idea that stiff joints demand total rest and bland, safe foods. Of course, staying mindful and gentle with our bodies is crucial, but there's a lot to be said for subtle, flavorful support from nature's pantry. Ready to explore? Come along with me on this journey, and remember, if any of these suggestions spark questions in your mind, drop them in a comment or share them with a friend. We're all learning together. It's time now to look at the first of the four spices, often misunderstood yet quietly powerful. This one might remind you of holiday baking or a trip to a fragrant spice market, yet it holds a property that many people overlook. Let's dive in. The first spice that deserves our attention is turmeric. Perhaps you've seen it in powdered form, bright and golden, often used in Indian curries or stews. Now, a lot of seniors believe turmeric is too exotic, something you can only enjoy if you have a taste for spicy foods. But here's a truth that challenges that assumption. Turmeric doesn't have to be hot or overwhelming. Its flavor is warm and earthy, not spicy in the sense of peppers. Claire, a 76-year-old retired teacher from Ohio, thought turmeric would clash with her all-American dishes. She grew up on casseroles, mashed potatoes, and roast chicken, and never ventured into global cuisine. But when she realized her hands were starting to ache during her weekly quilting group, she decided to explore new ways to manage that discomfort. At first, she was skeptical. How could a spice actually make a difference with joint stiffness? She tried adding just half a teaspoon of turmeric to her scrambled eggs each morning. It changed the color slightly, but not the taste, and she found the earthy undertone surprisingly pleasant. Claire combined this approach with light hand stretches that she'd learned from her doctor. Within a few weeks, she noticed a mild but welcome improvement in how her fingers felt first thing in the morning. She still had those days when the weather made her hands feel tight, but overall, she felt more comfortable holding her quilting needle for longer periods. While she couldn't pinpoint if it was purely the turmeric or the stretches, or both, her perspective on flavor and health changed forever. Evidence-based insights point to the compound in turmeric known as curcumin, which has been studied for its potential to support a healthy inflammatory response in the body. Now, it's important to note that curcumin is not a stand-in for medication, nor does it work miracles overnight. But plenty of people do find that incorporating turmeric regularly into their meals, drinks, or snacks can complement a broader plan for joint comfort. If you want to try it, start small, a quarter to half a teaspoon a day, gradually increasing to a teaspoon if you like the taste. Many folks enjoy stirring it into soups, blending it into smoothies, or sprinkling it on roasted vegetables. You can even make a soothing golden milk by adding turmeric and a little black pepper to warm milk or a milk substitute. That last part, the black pepper, deserves a mention. Pepper can help your body absorb the beneficial components of turmeric more efficiently. So if you're giving turmeric a try, consider pairing it with even a pinch of black pepper. As for the emotional benefits, Claire found that branching out with her cooking gave her a sense of independence and empowerment. At a stage in life when so many decisions seem dictated by outside factors, doctor's appointments, family obligations, it felt good to discover something she could control in her day-to-day routine. Now, if you're wondering whether turmeric might interfere with your medications, it's always wise to double-check with a healthcare provider. That's especially true if you're on blood thinners. But for most people, sprinkling a bit of turmeric onto a meal is a gentle, flavorful step that supports overall wellness. If you're hesitant, try it in tiny increments and see how your palate adapts. You just might be pleasantly surprised. Before we move on to the next spice, take a moment. Think about your current cooking habits. Do you have a favorite breakfast routine, a soup you like to make, or even a simple cup of tea in the afternoon? Can you picture adding just a dusting of turmeric there? Give it a chance, especially on a day when you're feeling adventurous. Let's proceed to the second spice, one that's often dismissed as merely a sweet dessert ingredient: ginger. When folks hear ginger, they might think of gingerbread cookies or holiday treats. The misconception is that ginger is only for sweet recipes or that it's too strong for daily use. Here's the challenging statement. Ginger's zing can actually be a delight in both savory and sweet dishes, and beyond taste, it offers some serious joint-soothing potential. Take Ralph, a 72-year-old retired electrician who loved to fix up old cars. Kneeling beside engines and twisting awkwardly under the hood took a toll on his knees and back. He tried over-the-counter creams and found some relief, but he still felt creaky most mornings. One day, a friend mentioned drinking ginger tea, something Ralph initially dismissed as too fancy. But after some coaxing, he gave it a shot. He grated fresh ginger into hot water, let it steep for a few minutes, and then sipped it with a little honey. He was astonished at how invigorating it felt. There was a gentle warmth that seemed to settle into his belly, and over time, made him feel a bit more nimble. From an evidence standpoint, ginger contains compounds called gingerols and shogaols, which are believed to support the body's natural inflammatory response. Like turmeric, ginger isn't a cure-all, but it's been used for generations in various cultures to help with everything from digestion to joint concerns. A practical tip: if fresh ginger feels intimidating, start with a small piece about the size of your thumbnail. Peel it. You can even use a spoon to scrape off the skin, and then grate or chop it into the dish you're preparing. If you prefer convenience, powdered ginger is also readily available, although fresh ginger tends to have a brighter, sharper flavor. Now, how can you incorporate ginger into your everyday meals? For a savory twist, try adding thin slices to your stir-fry or soup. If you're curious about sweet applications, blend it into a smoothie with banana and yogurt. Or do what Ralph did and make a warming ginger tea. A little fresh lemon juice and a drizzle of honey can balance the strong taste if it's too bold at first. There's also a mental benefit. The ritual of preparing ginger tea or ginger-infused meals can become a comforting habit, one that feels proactive. Often, seniors feel like their health routine is a list of rules they're forced to follow, but experimenting with ginger can be a creative act that makes you feel like you're adding something enjoyable to your life, rather than taking something away. It's a subtle but meaningful shift in perspective. As always, if you're on certain medications, especially those that affect blood clotting, be mindful of adding large amounts of ginger. A quick chat with a healthcare professional can clarify any concerns. But for many people, a moderate amount of ginger is perfectly safe and can be a lively addition to mealtime. We've now explored turmeric and ginger, two spices that might already be on your kitchen shelf, underused. Have you tried either of them in new ways? If you're feeling inspired, maybe even a little bit excited to break the routine, let me know how you plan to incorporate them into your next meal. I'd love to hear how it goes. Let's keep this conversation flowing, because what works for one person might spark an idea for another. Next up is a spice that often gets overshadowed by more glamorous ingredients: cinnamon. Most people only think about cinnamon for baking or sprinkling on toast. The misconception is that cinnamon is mainly sugar's best friend. Lovely in pastries, but not particularly beneficial for joints. Let's challenge that. Cinnamon, especially the variety known as Ceylon cinnamon, has been studied for its antioxidant properties and potential role in supporting comfortable joints. Linda, an 80-year-old grandmother who lives in a small coastal town, discovered cinnamon's broader benefits quite by accident. She had always loved cinnamon in her apple pies. Her grandchildren would rave about her recipe. But after reading an article about cinnamon's health properties, she decided to add it to her morning oatmeal without any extra sugar. At first, she missed the sweetness, but she gradually got used to the pure, warm flavor of cinnamon on its own. After a month, she noticed that the stiffness in her fingers upon waking was less pronounced. Was that directly due to cinnamon? Perhaps partially. It could have also been influenced by the gentle hand exercises she was doing. Still, she felt that incorporating cinnamon gave her a sense of ownership over her health. It was something she chose to do each day, rather than something someone told her she had to do. If you're new to using cinnamon beyond sweet recipes, consider adding a dash to savory dishes. For instance, some Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisines use cinnamon in stews, tomato-based sauces, and even meat rubs. The warmth of cinnamon can elevate the depth of flavor, creating a comforting dish that feels nourishing in both taste and aroma. One caution: there's a difference between Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, and cassia cinnamon, which is more common in grocery stores. While both types can offer benefits, cassia cinnamon contains higher levels of coumarin, which can pose issues if consumed in large quantities over a long period. If you plan to take cinnamon frequently as a supplement or use it generously every day, look for Ceylon cinnamon to stay on the safer side. Cinnamon's emotional benefits often lie in its cozy familiarity. Unlike some other spices, which might feel foreign or pungent, cinnamon often brings to mind memories of home cooking, holiday gatherings, and warm desserts. That sense of nostalgia can be soothing in itself, reminding you of family traditions and simpler times. When you can tap into that sense of comfort while also supporting your joints, you get a double benefit, both for your body and your spirit. A helpful tip is to buy a small amount of higher quality cinnamon. Freshness matters, and if you open a jar that has been sitting on the shelf for years, the flavor might be dull. Keep an eye on any changes you feel or don't feel after a few weeks. While cinnamon alone won't erase joint pain, it can be one piece of a larger puzzle. Combine it with gentle movements or stretches recommended by your healthcare provider, and you may discover that your mornings or evenings feel a bit easier on the joints. Now that we've gone through 3 spices, I'd love to check in with you. Which spice so far seems like the easiest fit for your daily routine? Do you lean toward turmeric, ginger, or cinnamon? Or perhaps all 3 in different dishes? Feel free to pause here, jot down a few ideas, and maybe plan your next grocery list. You might be surprised how a small purchase can make a lasting change in the kitchen and beyond. Let's move to our 4th and final spice, cayenne pepper. Yes, that fiery red powder that might seem off limits for anyone who thinks they can't handle spicy foods. Here's the myth we're about to bust. It's not always about turning up the heat to blazing. A little bit of cayenne pepper can go a long way in providing warmth and circulation support, which may also extend comfort to achy joints. Consider Jerome, a 78-year-old who has always labeled himself as having a weak stomach. He avoided anything spicier than black pepper for decades. When his granddaughter made a Southwestern-style soup with a small sprinkle of cayenne, he nervously tried a spoonful. Much to his surprise, it wasn't unbearably hot. It was simply warm and savory, and it seemed to bring a gentle heat to his body that actually felt nice in his stiff shoulders. Over time, Jerome found he could tolerate tiny amounts of cayenne in certain dishes, like chili, soup, or even scrambled eggs, without any digestive upset. Cayenne contains capsaicin, which is frequently used in topical creams for joint and muscle discomfort. By using a bit in your food, you might experience a mild version of that same warming sensation from the inside. Some folks even feel that this gentle warmth helps them move more freely. That said, if you have stomach sensitivities, you'll definitely want to start small, maybe just a pinch. You can always build up if you enjoy the flavor and feel comfortable with it. If the heat feels too strong at any point, dairy products like milk or yogurt can help cool things down. Or you can opt for milder peppers like paprika, which still has some joint-friendly properties without the same bite. There's an emotional aspect to embracing a little spiciness too. For many people, trying new tastes symbolizes a willingness to stay open-minded. In our later years, it's easy to feel like we've seen and tasted it all. But when you add a dash of cayenne, just enough to tingle your taste buds, you might find a spark of excitement, a reminder that life can still surprise you in pleasant ways. And if your family sees you enjoying a chili-infused dish, you might even become the talk of the next gathering. Grandpa's got a taste for heat now. As with all these spices, moderation is key. Too much cayenne can irritate the digestive tract. Also, if you're on certain heart or blood pressure medications, it's wise to mention your cayenne experimentation to your doctor. Balance is everything, and the goal here is to add a little zest to your food, not to upend your entire system. At this point, we've covered 4 spices that have stood the test of time in various cultures. Turmeric for its soothing qualities, ginger for its zesty warmth, cinnamon for its comfort and possible antioxidant properties, and cayenne pepper for that invigorating heat. None of these will fix your joints overnight, but they each offer natural support that can dovetail nicely with the guidance you receive from healthcare professionals. Even better, they can turn your kitchen into a place of healing, creativity, and sensory pleasure. Now let's take a moment to gather these threads together. Perhaps you've been dealing with joint pain that makes gardening or morning walks less enjoyable. Or maybe you've noticed that simple activities like folding laundry or opening jars are getting harder each day. Instead of resigning yourself to the idea that there's nothing you can do, why not experiment with some of these gentle spices? You can adopt them at your own pace, building new habits that align with your comfort level. Time has a way of moving quickly, and joint discomfort can creep up on us faster than we might expect. Yet there's no need to panic or feel like you have to solve everything at once. Think of the next shopping trip you take. Could you pick up a small jar of turmeric, a bit of fresh ginger, or a pack of cayenne pepper? Maybe even some high-quality cinnamon. The cost is relatively small, and the potential benefits, improved comfort, a sense of control, and the joy of tasting something new, are well worth exploring. What if you find yourself loving turmeric lattes or ginger-infused soups? What if cinnamon or cayenne pepper becomes your new secret ingredient for a homemade seasoning blend? Imagine how empowering it would feel to have these little allies in your kitchen, quietly supporting your goal of staying active and vibrant. You don't have to be a gourmet chef. Simple additions like a pinch here or a sprinkle there are often enough to create a meaningful shift. If you're ready to take action, consider choosing just one spice to focus on for the next week. Maybe you'll start your mornings with a pinch of turmeric in your scrambled eggs, or your evenings with a small mug of ginger tea. If you feel inspired to share your journey, invite a friend or family member to join you. Compare notes, exchange recipes, and see how each person's body responds. The sense of connection and shared discovery can be a powerful motivator, especially if you're feeling isolated in your health challenges. On a practical level, keep an eye on any changes in how you feel, physically and emotionally, after a couple of weeks. Maybe you'll notice that you're more inclined to take a short walk, or that your knees and hands seem less stiff in the morning. Perhaps you'll simply feel proud of yourself for embracing something new. That sense of pride and possibility can ripple out into other areas of your life, reminding you that being in your 70s, 80s, or beyond doesn't mean your capacity for growth has ended. Of course, there are always more advanced ways to explore these spices. Combining them, making homemade spice rubs, or blending them into teas and broths. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Remember to trust your instincts and your healthcare provider's advice. These spices are tools, not replacements for medical care. They can enhance but not override the wellness strategies you and your doctor have in place. If you'd like to take this conversation further, here are a few suggestions. First, you could share this video with a friend who's also dealing with joint pain. You never know who might benefit from a fresh idea. Second, if you're feeling confident, try one new recipe this week featuring one of these spices in a way you've never tried before. Third, leave a comment below if you have any questions or insights. By sharing our experiences, we all get a bit wiser. Finally, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful message. You are not stuck and you are not out of options. Even in our 70s and beyond, there's room for renewal and reinvention. Sometimes that renewal comes in the form of a bright orange powder, a fresh root that tingles your tongue, or a cozy spice that reminds you of home. Small steps, taken consistently, can lead to meaningful change, especially when we treat our bodies and minds with the care and curiosity they deserve. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you feel inspired to open your spice cabinet with fresh eyes. Here's to flavorful meals, comforting warmth, and joint health that allows you to keep doing the things you love for many years to come.